What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and there's something awfully fishy going on with the Little Mermaid reviews. And of course, this is a mediocre to sub-mediocre movie. There are a lot of reasons why. You can watch maybe the Critical Drinker talk about just how visually boring it is and how long, drawn out, and painstakingly just underwhelming the film is. Kids will like it because it's a mermaid, and parents will take their kids because it's a cheap babysitter for a few hours. But the film itself is not being well reviewed. And so several websites now have banded together to silence viewers from leaving their actual reviews. It's getting so bad that news media outlets are referring to, the global reviews of it as like, just the worst thing ever. It's just, it's so evil. People in international markets don't like The Little Mermaid. This is why the casting happens the way that it does. It provides an amazing shield to Hollywood, because if you don't like The Little Mermaid, well, then you're a racist. If you do like it, you're stunning and brave. Either way, Disney wins. And the idea that IMDb shifted its entire review process now and warned their customers that they're not allowed to leave negative reviews. It's wild. IMDb has now become just another woke piece of trash, just like Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, it's insane how they want to silence people. It's so funny how all of these losers that will write about review brigading, they never say anything about the millions of 10 out of 10s that seem to, come up all the time. It never really gets to, they don't call those random 10 out of 10s review brigading. It's only the ones or zeros those are the negative ones. It's so funny how often they ignore that. You see, like, Rotten Tomatoes, if we look at it, I actually haven't refreshed this. I was going to do it the other day, but look at that. Nothing changed. So they lead with the verified ratings. And so what are verified ratings? It's supposed to be reviews left by people who had bought through the app and left a review. The movie has almost $200 million in the box office, and I'm supposed to believe there's just 5,000 reviews. This is fake reviews. This is ridiculous. And if you look at, let's see, top critics, suddenly it's rotten. If we look at all audience, suddenly it's rotten. This is the actual reviews for Little Mermaid. But in my opinion, Rotten Tomatoes, as we've seen, works closely with Disney and Marvel. Remember when Rotten Tomatoes changed the whole system so that Captain Marvel wouldn't have negative reviews? That's exactly what they're doing here. You have 25,000 plus people there, and they've limited it to 5,000. It's like when Amazon did this for Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. People that have actually watched the show, they would just say, oh, well, you didn't jump through enough hoops, so we get to release your 1 out of 10 with a 7-paragraph review. And we're going to let through all these 10 out of 10s that have like 1 or 2 words, like neat, great, awesome, fascinating. But this is the real score of The Little Mermaid. It's a 48 and it's a 56. But you get all these articles. Little Mermaid review brigading leads IMDb to issue warning to fans to make their own minds up. The Little Mermaid suffered a fair amount of backlash for its casting, we all know. You see, our rating mechanism has detected unusual voting activity on this title. To preserve the reliability of our rating system, an alternate weighting calculation has been applied. Although we accept and consider all votes received by users, not all votes have the same impact or weight on the final rating. Oh, you're there. I mean, what? This is exactly what I expected. Sites like IMDb. You know why IMDb used to be like, how Rotten Tomatoes got popular? It's because you got to read people's reviews. But now they've become so bloated and so dependent on Hollywood money for advertising that they just run defense. This is not a 7 out of 10 movie. It just isn't. But IMDb now says it is. Now they say, The Little Mermaid splashes to 164 million global, which is not that amazing. I mean, the movie's got to make 600-700 million just to break even. I've said before, I really have no barometer on how these live action remakes do in the box office because, I mean, The Lion King made $1 billion. So who knows? People will go see these movies regardless. 164 million is certainly something. But then they'll say there's something fishy overseas as the Disney movie beset by review brigading, but it's only overseas people now. Korea's SBS News reported heading into the weekend that the film had been subject to a ratings terror. In an article against whose title Korean entertainment website Zapsy translated "Backlash Against Black Mermaid, Appearance Ridiculed, Ratings Drop on Day 1." On the ratings portal of Korea's Naver, over the week, past several days, there's been a trend of negative reviews receiving hundreds of likes, positive reviews getting hundreds of downvotes. Okay, are there people on the planet who genuinely have problems with black people? Of course. And that's dumb. You should have a problem with somebody for who they are, what they say. Most people give us plenty of reason to hate them based on the things that they do or the actions that they have. And I think just looking at their skin color and having an opinion about them is lazy and troubling. But, you also look at some of these other countries. We're constantly told how bad the West is, how terrible America is. But the fact of the matter is, you look at China, for example, which, Disney depends on for money. If it weren't for China, most of their movies wouldn't even break even. They ignore that. They pretend like it doesn't exist. The review brigading stopped in its tracks. I mean, what? Everybody's writing about The Little Mermaid is being review brigaded, but IMDb is taking action. Oh, anybody who gives a 10 out of 10 is probably let right through. Furthermore, IMDb issued a warning on their American, Canadian, British, Brazilian, and Mexican sites that reads our rating mechanism detected unusual voting activity. Now, are there people that adults start fighting at Little Mermaid premiere and ruin a movie for the kids? Yep. I'm not surprised. Parents demand refund after adults fight at the Little Mermaid. I would too. 4 adults were all standing up, completely blocking the screen. Moviegoers who started talking and wanted refunds for their tickets. I think they should. This is poor behavior. But again, all these articles, it's ridiculous. You see, The Little Mermaid offers a glimpse of a bleak movie future. Once in college, I was in a lab class where I did a study involving male betta fish and Prozac. Betta fish, as anyone knows, who has owned knows, need to live alone because they are aggressive little punks. If you hold up a mirror to one side of the tank, they will try to attack their reflection, unless you give them Prozac, which is precisely what we did. However, once the fish were sufficiently under the influence, it struck me that they did not appear to be keeping the peace because they were happier and had suddenly discovered the meaning of friendship, but because they had been sapped of all their energy. They simply no longer cared and could not be bothered. It is these lethargic, tranked out fish that kept coming to mind watching the new Little Mermaid, and not just the memeably pathetic-looking flounder. Vaguely dazed aura screams fish on drugs, not the fun kind. The entire film feels lethargic, tranked out, arguably the most artlessly formulaic of all the Disney action remakes to date. A noteworthy achievement considering the particular subgenre on the whole is a collection of films so lifelessly regurgitated that calling them remakes feels like an insult to other remakes. I mean, is this somebody who is a review brigader? Is it? I don't think so. It's so funny, though, when you look at, now they're just calling all these other countries racist. Like, China box office, Fast 10 wins second weekend while Little Mermaid flops, sparks debate on racism, casting, and political correctness. Now they want to talk about it. When their little movie... By the way, I have no problem with Halle Bailey. I don't think she's a very good actress, but she's undeniably a talented singer. But that's not what... I mean, there were a lot of songs in The Little Mermaid that are very memorable. The songs that were in the Little Mermaid remake are all pretty terrible, even if they are well sung. And I think it's hilarious to me that, like, now all of these media outlets are turning on China. Many Chinese netizens said that they like Snow White. The image of the mermaid princess in Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales has long been rooted in their hearts, and it takes a leap of an imagination to accept a new cast. The same editorial accused Disney of political correctness, an argument similar to the woke accusations by the political right wing in the United States, and said that the film would not perform well in East Asian markets. Well, it didn't. It didn't. Right? Disney has a particularly difficult line to tread in China. It operates theme parks in Shanghai and Hong Kong and has long been in the Hollywood studio most invested in the Middle Kingdom. But the past controversies over Mulan, the Chloe Zhao directed The Eternals, also demonstrate finding a happy medium between China and the U.S. is tricky for the multinational when national security concerns and political sensitiveness take such prominent positions in debates. Well, there's one way that you could avoid that, right? Strangely, while audience ratings on a scale of 1 to 10 are a common figure of popular film discussion in China, neither Maoan nor rival ticketing firm Tao Pai Pio, I don't know, currently provide an audience rating review score for The Little Mermaid. Readers on the film site Daoban gave the film a limp 5.3 score based on 18,000 assessments. It probably is a 5.3. That's actually not that. I mean, that's what this movie is. It's not very good. And now I love how they're just calling every other country racist now because they don't want to see this movie. It's funny. It's just funny to me. The whole thing's hilarious. The movie sucks, is always going to suck, and then they're just trying to use Halle Bailey's blackness as a shield for a poor movie. Nobody's shocked. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like on it. If you're new to the channel, please make sure to subscribe down below, and we'll talk to you again real soon.